the Feminist Mafia with César Vidal and Cristina Seguí. Very good morning, very good afternoon, very good evening, and above all, very welcome here to César Vidal TV and to this journey on horizons of putrefaction, on horizons of corruption, and on horizons of two places, which is, of course, the Feminist Mafia. Get ready, because we are surely going to have one of those trips in which one misses the asbestos suit and the rubber gloves. And as always, masterfully steering the ship, Cristina Seguí will be with us. Cristina, very good evening. Where are we going to travel today?
Very good evening, Mr. César. Today we are loaded with news. We really go from Sunday to Sunday. And in a week, so many things happen that I think we would need a couple of deliveries more. But well, it is what it is, and it has to wait. We are going to do something that I thought we were never going to do, which is to start by doing the honors to a Yemeni Islamist in a small-town Michigan mayor named Amir Kalib. A guy who has decided to take down the LGTBI flag after progressive forces were instrumental in him becoming mayor.
This happens all the time. I mean, sure, it's a small town in Michigan. I don't know what. No, this is... And there is a novel, which is not one of the author's best novels, but it is very interesting, called Submission, which is a novel that appeared about 5 or 6 years ago in France, which told what would happen if suddenly a Muslim became president of France. And it turns out that the Muslim comes to power thanks to the vote of the left. That is to say, who votes for the Muslim, apart from the Muslims, is the vote of the left. And what follows is logically the application of Islamic norms in a France that has already crushed the family, that does not know what life as a couple is, etc., 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 etc. And this, which some people consider to be exaggerated, well, when you have it in front of you, you realize that it is not so exaggerated. And excuse the intrusion, it is like those of us who read a book by Jean Gaspalier called The Camp of the Saints back in the year 1915, which talked about how the saints arrived in the country and how they came to the country, and which talked about how boats of illegal immigrants were arriving in Europe and invading Europe. And those of us who read the book said this:
missionaries?
It is impossible, this cannot happen. And besides, the author saying that the parishioners helped them to invade France and so on, this is impossible. Well, 40-odd years later, this is our daily bread.
And above all, I had never thought of these people as a window of opportunity. Because of course there's an Islamic invasion, but you're killing the LGTBI collective.
Well, the LGTBI collective and the feminist collective are going to disappear. This weekend I reproduced a video on Twitter of one of these invasions in which they arrive in barges and barges. It looks like Normandy in June 44, but those who arrived were Africans and so on.
Oh,
and then I said, well, let's not fool ourselves. In 20 years' time, these people will have imposed a series of things. Women will have returned to the gynecologist, where in Spain they have not been for more than 500 years, and homosexuals will be hanged from cranes. And then there are people who do not believe this. Well, when they see it, it will be too late.
The funny thing is that we had thought that the solution to end these tyrannical lobbies was to vote for the right, and the truth is that we had never thought that the UOC establishment was going to destroy itself by voting precisely, in this case, for the Democrats.
Well, I however, have always been very clear about that. I mean, yes, I've always been very clear, and I've always been very clear that they underestimated Islam. Let's see, Islam may deserve one judgment or another, but what you cannot do is to fall into the trap of what you cannot do is to fall into the error of underestimating it. And these people underestimate it because deep down they despise other races, they despise Muslims, they despise homosexuals, and they despise women. That is to say, all these people look down on them and say women are stupid, you mobilize them with a kiss, they are dumb. Homosexuals, apart from being generated, are a bunch of imbeciles. And besides, we are going to get rid of them right away after they have fulfilled their role. And all these groups are delighted that they come to Europe and everything else. Because in the same way that dictatorships last in their countries of origin indefinitely until the tyrant dies, we are going to control them in exactly the same way. This is a morph mass that we are going to control. And of course, the problem is that things are not that way. And above all, these people also have an ideology, unlike the LGTBI lobby, LGTBIQ or plus or whatever. And unlike the feminist lobby, they have an ideology that does not go that way, and that believes in the family. It may be in their family, but the family effectively believes in their religion. They have their values and that worldview and that vision of the family. That is the globalist agenda. So you are putting the enemy inside the house, and if you are careless, as you would say, you are giving them a rope, so that they will give you a rope and you will be able to control
more in the
it.
middle of what is happening in the United States.
They know perfectly well that encouraging their family and taking care of their family is also part of the struggle to conquer the West. So, well,
and these controlling local authorities.
We are going to vote for more Islamist mayors,
now we have to get rid of the appetite of these people who are coming to live here and who are going to live in a society in which this is possible. This is viable, and I would have to participate. Because now the government that has melted down,
in any case,
what are the household chores, the hours that each family member spends, an app called Mitoka, and we clarify that it has nothing to do with...
I'm not sure why the Ministry of Equality insists you must know that now you have to download this app, and these people who come to live here and who are going to have their lives in a society in which this is possible and this is viable should participate, because now the government that has spent
and this is where the indisputable fact that we must have a big brother at
billion
home
in Andalusia between pay girls and talcum powder.
About 12
now it has spent 207,000 euros of our taxes in launching an app for cell phones to count.
That's one thing I'm beginning to find very difficult. Yes. Yes, of course.
What are the household chores? The hours that each member of the family spends. An app called Mitoka. And that we clarify that it has nothing to do with the wild count of the times that the Podemitas have had to be treated by their party mates to get a ladder. Nothing to do with it. Me toca poner la lavadora, me toca lavar los platos, me toca hacer la cama, me toca recoger, me toca ir a por el niño, etcétera, etcétera, etcétera. Their objective is to prevent the burden, from falling abusively on women, because according to them, and this is where the incontestable fact that we have to have a big brother at home comes in, women spend more than twice as much time as men. About 12.5 hours more a week, and more than men, I don't know, it's something that is not done in my house. An hour and a bit more
a day?
Yes, of course, that's all.
There are not many of them, but they are very noticeable. That is to say that kind of guy that others call them ironing panties, which is an appellative that has become very fashionable. I've seen some people call them chupa tampones. I've seen a woman use that appellative, and I was astonished because at a certain moment in one of these discussions, a lady who was keeping her head on her shoulders to the difference between the woman and the man who was in front of her said to him, "You are a muff sucker, I don't know what." The other one didn't say a word about it. He didn't say anything.
How are things? A woman calling a guy a cocksucker and a guy calling a woman a chauvinist?
A lot, if we are seeing unusual things
that we thought we would never see, and that we please pray we stop seeing, by the way. Well, let's watch the ad for some commentary.